Let's take a look at the HTML Img tag. Now we're going to look at with an example. We have less than Img and then our source equals, and this is our file name, whatever that's called. Then we're going to have the alt attribute, and this refers to what a visually impaired person would see if they couldn't see the image. Then we have the height, which of course refers to our height of our image. And then we have our width, which refers to the width of the image. Let's take a look at creating a web page using the images. Now I see here I have two images. Both of them are called bare. One thing in programming, whether you're programming HTML or any other language, you should always have your file extensions turned on. And I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm in my folders here, and if you don't see that, you can click the folders here, or you can choose your computer here to bring that up. And that'll vary depending upon also the operating system course you're on. But if I hold down my Alt key, or press my Alt key I should say, and then choose Tools and choose Folder Options, you'll see across the top there's some tabs, and we'll click the View tab. And there's a hide extensions for known file types. By default they have this shut off to make it a user-friendly system. And from a programming standpoint, that makes your life difficult. So you always want to be able to see those. So you come here, you uncheck that, and you click OK, and you'll see your extensions. And you see one of them's called JPEG, and one of them's PNG. Now let's take a look at creating our web page. So I got HTML, tag, and then body. And then here's my image. So image, I'll say source is equal to bare.jpg. Then I'll do a slash body and slash HTML to close those. You do not need a closing one for the image. It's by default kind of self-contained. So I'll save that. So I'll do a file save. And when I do a file save, I'm going to give it a name. So I call it web page 1.html. You can either end it with HTML or HTM. It does not matter. For the save as type, I want to change that to all files. Now if you leave it as text, on some operating systems it'll put the .txt on there for you. For my particular Windows 7 it will not do that. It will automatically just put the HTML. But to be on the safe side, just make sure you change the save as type to all files. And I'll click save, and you'll see it appear over here. This is associated with IE. I don't want to bring it up in IE, so I'll right click on it and I'll choose open with, and you see there's different options, and I want to choose Google Chrome. Now when this comes up, you'll see our picture of our bear on a web page. And I haven't put anything else fancy on here, but you can put whatever other tags along with this. Now if I come back and change this to PNG, it'll bring up the other image. This is why it's important to have your extensions on to know what type of file you're dealing with. There's three popular image types. There's JPEG, JPG, there's PNG, there's GIF, depending upon who you talk to about how it's pronounced. That's GIF. Save that. And then I'll come over here and I'll right click on this and choose open with Google Chrome. And you'll see your new change when it comes up. Now sometimes you can refresh these pages and it automatically show your changes. Sometimes when you're saving it to your local drive, depending upon the operating system, you may not see the results. So you may want to close it each time and open it up. That's kind of try it and see what happens. For this one, here's the refresh button right here. And if you click the refresh, then it'll, in theory, change or put in whatever changes you have. Like for example, if I do JPEG here and I do a save, and if I come and refresh this, and you'll see that change. I'm going to just bring up the web page each time because, like I say, there's some operating systems that do not refresh, and it probably depends upon operating system / browser, I should say. I've been frustrated by that on my local PC because sometimes it's like, I made that change, I saved it, why isn't it appearing? Sometimes it's just an error I put in there, but sometimes it's this issue right here. Well, now we can do an alt. This attribute allows a visually impaired person to understand what they're looking at. So you could say this is a picture of a bear. And I'll save that. And now if I come over here and right click on this and open with Google Chrome, you'll see it comes up here and we got our bear. I put my mouse over it and nothing happens. It shouldn't. That's meant for a screen reader, so that if you have somebody that cannot see the images, it sits there and reads the screen to them. So when it hits the image, then it actually has something to say besides just there's an image and that's it. And they have no clue what it is. Okay, so now I'm going to put a width on here and a height. Does not matter the order on these, so I can put the height first, the width first, doesn't matter. Let me do 100 and then do a width equal to 300. Let me first try this without the quotations on there, and let's see what happens. Let's put the quotations. I'll right click on this and choose Open with Google Chrome. And you see it changes the size. Now that may not be exactly what you wanted it to be, but now let's come back to our web page, and let me change this instead to put 300 here, and put 100 here, and let me put quotations on those. Let's see how that changes it. Okay, so save that. Let me come over. Let me try to refresh. See if that. There, it changed it. Now, so you notice that it did not matter if I put quotations on there or not. In some cases, you'll find attributes have to have the quotations on there. In some cases, it does not matter. So what I encourage you to do is when you're doing web design is just experiment. Try it with the quotations. Try it without quotations. There's nothing. You shouldn't be happy told every, and this is just in general in any programming you do, whether it's HTML or any other language, you shouldn't have to be told every exact detail. You should be willing to experiment in that particular language to see what happens. Now you see these images don't look very good, do they? Kind of skewed. Well, if you want to do the math behind it to figure out what it should be, let's first look at what our image is. If I come over here to this image, if I right click on this and choose properties, it'll tell you what your size of your image is, I believe. There it is. I don't think I'm seeing the size on it. I don't got my glasses on. Let's see, detail. There it is, details. You see you got 275 by 183. Now 275 by 183, and you see it says your width is 275. So we come over here. Width is 275, and the height. Go back to the image. Height is 183. Now cancel on that. If I want to change the width, well, I could put this into a proportion. So I got 275. I put the width over the height. And let's say I want the new width to be 500. But I'm wanting it to look as I resize it, I want it to still look decent. I don't want it to be skewed like you've seen with those last two changes I've made. What you do is you put an X here. This is our unknown. We're trying to figure out what our height is going to be. Well, from algebra, this is a proportion. A single fraction equals a single fraction, and we'll cross multiply. So take 275 times x, and you'll take 183 times 500. Then you divide both sides by 275, and you got x is equal to 183 times 500 divided by 275. And this will give you the value you should place in there. I won't actually plug that in the calculator, but that should be the value you use in your width and your height. So for this problem here, then our width will be 500, so that's what we'll put in, and then our height would be whatever we received here. There's an easier way. If you got a graphics package of some sort, in this particular video we're going to take a look at paint.net. If I do a file open and I bring up the bear picture, if I do an image and then choose resize, now all of these have some kind of option to maintain aspect ratio. Some packages I've seen have had a little chain that connect the width and height together, such that if you change the width, it automatically changes the height. So if I come here and I change the width to 500, what you're going to see, and that is truly too small for me to see, so let me throw my glasses on temporarily, tells us the height is 333. So over here, we can use 333. Now, I don't know, this probably would have gave us something close to that, if not exact. Now, you don't want any decimals on these. Now, that's a nice part about that graphics package. I don't need to actually resize it. I'm not going to actually click the OK, but I can use it to do my algebra for me. Why do I show you that algebra then? Occasionally, you run across a package where you cannot bring the image in to like a paint.net or a Photoshop, and you have to do it self-contained in that package. So you have to do that every once in a while, not so often as it used to be. I was a webmaster for 3 years, and this particular calculation I had to do fairly often as I resize the image on the screen. The question is, do you want to just temporarily resize it for the web page, or do you want to change it permanently? And that's a question you have to decide on your image, and then you can decide whether do I need to resize it in a graphics package, or just do it strictly on the web page. Okay, so now that we got our new numbers, let's come here, and we said width was 500, I believe, and height was 333. So I'm going to save that. I'll come back here and then change it, and then it resizes it. Sometimes you can resize it to the point where the image looks poor. And we're not going to go over the different quality of JPEG versus PNG versus GIF. That's for a different discussion. But that's how you bring it in. It's best, in my opinion, that you have the images in the same location as the HTML file, because then if you need to move that particular web page, that particular folder, when you move the folder, it moves the images with it. Some cases, some people like to have the images in a separate folder. So for right here, they click New Folder, and they'll have an Images folder. And then they'll take this bear image and they'll move it here. Now when I do that, and I click Refresh, you can actually see my alt. It's still there, but the image is gone because I moved the image. I broke it. Well, we moved it to an Images folder. So you do Images, and I always have to play with this because I never sure of the slash. Let's try that slash. Okay, so let me come here, refresh this, and then we get our picture there. So now we don't have it all over. We won't have our images cluttering our main folder. They'll be in this Images folder. So if I want to access just the images, I can go there and manipulate them. Not a bad technique if you have it down there. If you have it in a different location, then it gets a little bit confusing. You'll have to either use absolute referencing to get to it, which is bad, because then if you at some point move that one folder to a different location, all of a sudden you potentially have broke, depending upon how many images are in that folder, you have potentially broke 1,000 web pages. So that absolute referencing should be avoided. Now there are certain cases where you do have to put it. I'm working with a edX LMS right now, where the referencing to the image has to be absolute. So it goes from the HTTP to the very end of the file name, which is I know bad, but that's how the system is designed. You're not allowed to do the relative referencing. Now the Last thing I want to mention is for the images, you can, besides just display them, you can embed these into a table. You could even embed these into a link such that they click the image and it goes somewhere else. There are other attributes that go along in here, some very specific to newer versions of HTML, some just specific to older versions of HTML. These are just kind of some standard ones I'm showing you here that are used fairly often. The height and width, if you leave those off, it just defaults to whatever the height and width is currently. So if you don't want to change the size of your image at all, you do not need to put those references. Now, I definitely put the attributes, you have to have source, of course, and I definitely put the attribute alt to make your web page compliant. In this video, we took a look at some various options that go along with the image tag in HTML.